Well, hey fans, welcome back to another South by Southwest movie review, and today we're going to review Immaculate. So, Immaculate is a psychological horror film directed by Michael Mohan, starring Sydney Sweeney, and it follows this young nun who, after her parish in Chicago closes, she's invited to join this parish in Italy, and shortly after arriving there, she becomes sick and then finds out that she is pregnant, even though she has never had sex with anyone in her life. And then, of course, as time goes on, she realizes something is not quite right about this parish. Now, to start with the things that I did enjoy, the overall feel of the movie, the look, the creepiness of the Gothic, there's always something, sinister with, nuns and Catholicism in these old churches and these parishes, and it pairs well with horror. It always has. If you go back to Rosemary's Baby or The Omen, these religious themes revolving around the devil and just something sinister going on. It has always worked for horror, and I think it will continue to work in the future. And I like what Mike Mohan did in that aspect of the way the film looked, the way he shot it, the way that all of the nuns and the priests looked on screen. You always felt like something eerie was going on. The costume design is pretty great. The music, the score, gives off a good horror vibe. I like that. And this is actually not the first film by Mike Mohan that I have seen. He previously did a film for Amazon called The Vouyers, which also stars Sydney Sweeney, that I really enjoyed. And this kind of gives off some of those same thriller vibes, but I don't think he quite reaches as good of a film as he did with that one. In terms of performances, this movie is really carried by Sydney Sweeney. She's the main star, she gets the most screen time, and she does a fantastic job as Sister Cecilia. I think Sydney Sweeney is a good-looking woman, and I do think that they were playing off of the fact that, if you've ever seen Euphoria, they have a hot nun. And this movie, being released at this time of the year, is a little odd. It probably should have been released around Halloween so you can sell more of those hot nun costumes based off of this. But like I said, her performance is great. She gives a great deal of emotion in a lot of her scenes, a great deal of naivete as well. And I think just the mix of all the emotion when she finds out what's going on with her. She's in a new place. She doesn't quite understand the language. All of that comes together to create a fully fleshed out character. And in terms of these secondary characters, I really did enjoy Benedetta Porcaroli, I believe that is her name. She portrays Sister Gwen, and I liked her performance as well, although we don't get enough of her. There's also Sister Isabel, who's played by Giulia Heathfield Di Renzi, I believe is her name. Those two actresses are like the only other two young nuns that we kind of get introduced to. And I really wanted more for them. I wanted more of that friendship between Sister Gwen and Sister Cecilia, and of course that animosity between Sister Isabella and the two of them. It is kind of brought up and then dismissed. And really, those performances, the look of the film, that is where my positives end. Going into the story, and I pretty much guessed what was going on at the beginning of the film. Once a certain character comes onto the screen and gives their backstory, I'm like, I know exactly where this is going, and I was exactly right, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine knowing where the story is going as long as they execute it in a good, interesting way. So I do not feel that Mohan did that with this movie. The concept is great. The entire concept of the Immaculate Conception in the terms of how this movie presents it is great. The way he executed it just didn't really gel. I feel like there are certain things that happen in the film that don't really make sense with the way the story went. It's like there was probably originally some supernatural element to this that they were thinking about weaving into the story, and they kind of took it out, because there's a scene where Sister Cecilia sees a cross burned into the bottom of this old nun's foot. Now, when you find out what that cross means later in the film, it doesn't make sense that this old nun would have it. So it's just stuff like that. And then, of course, I'm going to go ahead and say, so in terms of score, I'm going to give this movie a bad 4.9 out of 10. And I really don't want to give it that score, but the way the film gets to the climax, the way it ends, I just did not like. I think they dropped the ball when it came to the ending. Even though Sydney Sweeney gives like a great performance, it was poorly executed for the entire second half of the film. Like I said, I wish we got to sit with some characters more, sit with their motivations more. And this is a slight spoiler. So like the villain's plan is not necessarily like a bad plan. It's not like a evil thing. It's just they keep having these religious leaders do evil things for no reason. It's like, you don't have to do this bad thing to fulfill your plan. It's probably like a good thing, potentially. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's potentially like a good thing for the world. But why are you killing people? Like, why are you doing? I'm sure you could easily find somebody to get, this science experiment to work. And yeah, see, that's just the thing. I don't like it when you don't have villains who aren't like really villains. They're just kind of like good people doing bad things for no reason. I had the same issue with the villain in Blue Beetles. Like, she had a great plan and then she just is doing evil things just so you can have an evil person. And especially like the last scene in the movie, I guess it's supposed to end on like a gray area of whether Sydney Sweeney does this thing or not, or whether Cecilia does this thing or not. But to me, I think it was obvious what she did, and I just did not like that. And that's really what dropped it into the bad for me, I'm going to be honest with you. But yeah, the movie should have come out during spooky season, should have been in the fall, right around Halloween. I like the way it looks, sounds. Sydney Sweeney's acting is terrific. I just wish they had executed this story better. So I'd like to thank you guys again for joining me for another movie review. Remember, you can watch the full review on YouTube and the website, flipfrogllc.com/flixfrog. Remember, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. And please, pretty please, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Facebook page, anything and everything FlipFrog, FlixFrog, FlipFrog Books. Make sure that you subscribe. And until next time, I'll be seeing you.